In the last video, we looked at how do we get the graph properties out of the equation. What happens if they switch that problem around on us? So they say f is a trigonometric function of the form f of x equals a sine bx plus c plus d. And notice here they've written this in an unfactored form, so we got to make sure we take care of that from the form that we had. And below is the graph f of x. The function intersects its midline at pi comma negative 4, this point right here, and has a minimum point at pi over 4 comma negative 5.5. So in order to get all of these values, a, b, c, and d, really we should start out by identifying what these four properties, amplitude, period, vertical shift, and horizontal shift, or phase shift, you often see this called, what these values are. So let's start with the vertical ones first. That's usually easy to see. The midline is negative 4. So your vertical shift on this guy is negative 4. Your amplitude, it's going from negative 5.5 to the midline. Let's get a color we can see there. Negative 5.5 to the midline. So this distance right here is 1.5. So there is your amplitude. And then period and horizontal shift. So first of all, we see this as a sine function. So we're trying to identify where a point is that the graph starts in the middle, on the midline. So this point right here, right pi units, that is our horizontal shift in this problem. Normally we're at 0, 0 for a sine function. Now we're shifted down 4 units and over pi units for our starting point. So horizontal shift is plus pi. And then the period we need to use these 2 points to figure this out for ourselves. That's a quarter of a period they've drawn there from pi over 4 to pi. So calculating the period, pi over 4 to pi, that's a distance. We did a little subtraction here. Pi over 4. Instead of thinking about this like pi, you might want to do 4 pi over 4. That's still the same thing, but then we have a common denominator, so we get 3 pi over 4. Now that's not our period, that's the distance of 1/4 of a period. So our period's going to be 4 times that value. 4 times 3 pi over 4. And so we get 3 pi. So our basic the basic setup we had from the last video, it's a sine function. So sine and then a x minus h plus k. So some of these are really easy. The b value is just the amplitude, so we'll just stick that right in there. So b is the amplitude, 1.5, sine. I'm going to leave this for a second. And then plus k, so minus 4. That's our vertical shift. All right, so in here we've got a times x minus h. The a value comes off of the period. So the a value, so this period is 2 pi divided by the a value. So in order to find the a value, we can just trade the a and the 3 pi. Multiply by a, divide by 3 pi would be a mathematical way to think about that. So a is 2 pi over 3 pi, or just 2/3. So that's the a value. Put that in yellow. So the a value is 2/3. Then the horizontal shift we said is plus pi. So this is going to be x minus pi. And then the form they asked for did not have a parentheses, x minus h. It was bx plus c. So really all that means is we need to just distribute this guy in. So 2/3 x. And then it says plus c, but c is actually going to be a negative number here, minus 2/3 pi. Or 2 pi over 3 if you'd rather. And there is an equation that fits what they asked us for, and you can certainly check that out on Desmos to make sure that matches.